These are new metal releases for May 8th, 2026. It was a pretty big weekend. I was able to do 3 standalone reviews. You can find them on my channel. They are for Social Distortion, Dark Throne, and Black Veil Brides. But there are 10 other albums I was able to listen to this weekend and do short reviews for. The first 6 are more well-known bands, but stick around because the last 4 are actually some pretty cool underground finds. So let's get into it. First one is Yoth Iria with Gone with the Devil. This is a Greek black metal band formed in 2019. This is their 3rd full-length album. The new album was released on May 8th, 2026 through Metal Blade Records. The band has Jim Mutilator on bass, who was previously in the band Rotting Christ. If you know me, you know I am a big fan of Greek metal bands, and Greek black metal is my favorite subgenre of black metal, as the Greek bands have a very distinctive style compared to other black metal bands. In other words, they don't sound like the typical Norwegian black metal bands. This album has 10 tracks. It's 44 minutes long. The album opens with Dare to Rebel, which has some Middle Eastern chanting and big drums, and it sounds like bagpipes and symphonic elements. So right away, you know this is not your typical black metal band. It's a fairly slow track with some deep vocals that are probably closer to death metal style vocals. The next track, Woven Spells of a Demon, has some vocals that sound more like traditional black metal with lots of layers of sounds. There are heavy guitar riffs as well as symphonic elements in the background. One of my favorites on the album was called 3 AM. One of those has a hard driving rhythm and a more melodic sound. I also like the fact there are harsh vocals, but they are understandable, which is good if you want to listen to the lyrics. I probably could have done a full review of this because I like the band a lot. My score will be 8.5 out of 10. It's a really great example of Greek black metal if you have never listened to it before. Next is Draconian with In Somnolent Ruin. They are a Swedish gothic death doom band, and they formed in 1994. The album was released on Napalm Records. This is their 8th full-length album. The band is both male and female vocals by Anders Jacobsen and Lisa Johansson, respectively. The album has 9 tracks. It's about an hour long. Opening track is called I Welcome Thy Arrow. It's an 8-minute epic that slowly builds with some dark and ominous sounds. The song features some soft vocals by Lisa Johansson, and this is followed by the band entering the song with some melodic and doomy guitars. It's followed by the male vocals, which are harsh death metal style vocals. And the next song is called The Monochrome Blade. This is more of a typical gothic death doom track with low guttural vocals and some slow chugging guitars. This one reminded me of classic Paradise Lost. There was another song I liked called I Gave You Wings, which starts off with a melodic female vocals and some dark and eerie sounds, but then it comes at you with these big and heavy doom metal guitar riffs. The song had lots of peaks and valleys with a mix of clean vocals and harsh vocals, but overall, it was pretty good. It's for fans of bands like Paradise Lost or My Dying Bride. I thought it was pretty good. My final score will be 8 out of 10. Now for something completely different. Next is Crashdïet with Art of Chaos. They are a Swedish sleaze rock glam metal band. They formed in Stockholm in 2000. It's their 7th full-length album. They're one of the few bands still playing the style of metal. The album has 10 tracks. It's about 39 minutes long. The opening track is called Satisfaction, spelled with a Z for some reason. This has big arena rock sound with big soaring vocals. The song is very melodic. You can hear the bass guitar very well. One thing I noticed about Swedish bands, they're able to write songs with some really catchy hooks. And the next track is called Sick Enough For Me. This one had a sleazier sound, something along the lines of LA Guns or Faster Pussycat. It's another song that has some very catchy hooks. It sounds like something that could have been written back in the 80s. I also like the song Can of Worms. This was closer to traditional heavy metal, maybe something like 80s Scorpions. I like the guitar sound on the track. And you know a band like this will have a few power ballads on their album. So one of the power ballads was called Love Blind. It sounded exactly as you would expect. Lots of melodic guitars, clean verse, loud chorus, catchy hooks. Overall, a pretty cool album. I don't listen to a lot of glam metal anymore. If this had come out in the 80s, I probably would have liked it a lot better. But for now, it's 7.5 out of 10. Pretty cool album to listen to for the sake of nostalgia. Next is Ingested with Denigration. This is another album I could have done a full review for. I remember I reviewed their last two albums on this channel. I did a full review for Ashes Lie Still in 2022 and a short review for The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams from 2024. Ingested is an English deathcore band from Manchester. They formed in 2006. The band has released 8 studio albums, the latest being Denigration in 2026 via Metal Blade Records. The album has 10 tracks, 41 minutes long. The album opens with Dragged Apart, and right out the gate, it's just big deathcore riffs, blast beats, low guttural vocals. You can hear some variety in the vocals, and at times they are bordering on clean vocals. Next is Merciless Reflection, which is more of a deathcore sound with brutal riffs, lots of changes in the rhythm, and there are times when they slow down for the heavy breakdowns. And there was another song I liked called Oaths Betrayed. This one goes really heavy. And this band doesn't really stray from the sound. You know what you're getting on every track. It's a solid deathcore album. This is not one of my go-to genres, but I listen to it from time to time. So for that reason, I give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It's not really my cup of tea, but if you're a fan of the genre, I think you will like it. Next is Frozen Soul with No Place of Warmth. Frozen Soul is an American death metal band from Fort Worth, Texas, founded in 2018. I've been following them since the first album, Crypt of Ice, from 2021. They also released Glacial Domination in 2023. I did short reviews for both albums. I probably could have done a full review for this one, but there are too many albums released this week. The album has a few guests as well. Opening track, No Place of Warmth, features Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance, which is kind of a weird collaboration for a death metal band, but they make it work. This track is pure death metal. Riffs are heavy, vocals are harsh, but understandable. The band kind of reminds me of Bolt Thrower. Gerard Way comes in towards the end of the song doing some death metal vocals, so that was pretty cool. And there was another collaboration called Invoke War with Rob Flynn Machine Head, which is his second appearance this week because he was also on the Black Veil Brides album, which I did a full review of. This was a single, and I reviewed it on a previous episode, so it's a really good song. Another collaboration is Dreadnought with Sanguisugabog, which is a collaboration that makes sense. This was a slower death metal track, but overall, it's a solid old school death metal album, and my final score is going to be my highest of the week. It's going to be a 9 out of 10. Next is Teramaze with Silent Architect. It's another band I have reviewed on my channel. I reviewed their last album. Teramaze are an Australian progressive metal band formed in 1995 in Geelong, Victoria. The band is very prolific. It's their 15th album. The previous album was The Harmony Machine in 2025. And this album has 9 tracks. It's an hour long. The album opens and closes with 2 tracks that are long tracks over 10 minutes long each. And the rest of the tracks are in the 5 to 8 minute range. So some of the tracks I liked were called Doors to Yesterday. It opens with some piano orchestration. The song features melodic, clean vocals. There are heavy guitars coming in about halfway through the song. And there's another song, Invisible Countdown, which was more of a progressive metal sounding track. It was a little longer at over 8 minutes and had lots of complex guitar riffs and odd time signatures and orchestration added to the sound. But maybe my favorite song of the album was called Arrow, and it's more of a straightforward rock song. It sounds like something you could hear on rock radio. I think maybe if this album came out like 20 years ago, it might even be a rock radio hit. But anyway, I like that song a lot. I probably could have done a full review for this one as well. But overall, a solid progressive metal album for fans of melodic progressive metal bands like Evergrey or Soen. My score is 8 out of 10. Next is High Fade with Twice as Nice. High Fade is a funk metal band from Scotland based in Edinburgh. The album Twice as Nice was released on May 8, 2026 via their independent label RPM Records. It's their sophomore studio album. This is my first time listening to the band, but according to my research, the record is noted for being heavier and grittier than their debut, Life's Too Fast, from 2024. And on this album, they're pushing more into heavy metal textures while maintaining their signature deep funk groove. In my personal opinion, they reminded me a lot of Blood Sugar Sex Magic era Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is a good thing. The album has 10 tracks, it's only 31 minutes long, and the opening track, Swamp, has a lot of energy and a bluesy and funky sound. The Fly was the next track that had a bit of a progressive rock sound mixed into the funk sound. They incorporated horns and distorted guitars, and other key tracks include The Joke's on You. This one reminded me a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was one of my favorites. They also have heavier tracks like Sick of Myself, which is more of a traditional heavy metal track with funk influences. Overall, pretty cool band. I don't hear a lot of bands playing this type of music anymore, so it was a nice find. My score will be 8 out of 10. Next is Who on Earth with It Takes a Village. Who on Earth is they also known as WOE, but they are a New Jersey-based hard rock metal band known for blending 70s and 80s classic rock, heavy metal, and modern high-voltage arena rock. Band plays old-school heavy metal. Their influences are Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, and Metallica. They released their debut album, Blame, in 2022, and Smoke and Mirrors EP in 2025. This new album is called It Takes a Village. They're also known for a very energetic live show, and they performed all throughout the Tri-State area, and they're set to tour with Fozzy in 2026. So they're moving up. They're getting a little more popular. But let's talk about the music. Opening track Vigilance has some cool stop-start heavy metal guitar riffs, vocals slightly reminiscent of James Hetfield, sound bordering on thrash and traditional heavy metal. Pretty cool track with some memorable hooks. Next track, Any Other Way, sounded more like 80s heavy metal with some chunky guitar riffs. Then on the track Shadows, they lean more into their Black Sabbath influences with a doomier and darker sound. There were other tracks that I liked, like the track Monster, which has some classic heavy metal guitar riffs and a very big sound. Finally, the track Oh, Set Me Free was a standout because it opens with the dark bass guitar and slowly builds when they incorporate the heavy guitars. Was another track that had a darker tone. Overall, a perfect band for those who like old school heavy metal, and I also give this one 8 out of 10. Next is the band Old Moon with Home to Nowhere. They are an American melodic black metal band from Portland, Oregon. It's their debut studio album. The album has 7 tracks. It's 44 minutes long. Opening track is called Between the Stars. It's a 7-minute epic which starts off with a slow and ominous guitar riff that creates a very atmospheric musical landscape. After about 2 minutes, they start to incorporate black metal elements and some orchestration. The vocals sound like traditional black metal vocals. And the next track is called My Name is Death. Sounded more like traditional black metal with some blast beats and some symphonic elements to give it some more melody. The sound is very dark. They also incorporate lead guitar melodies into their sound. There was also the track called Distance that sounded like atmospheric black metal with some dense soundscapes. And I also like the track called Rest to My Name. This one had a very creepy vibe with some choirs. It sounded like came from an old 70s horror movie like The Omen. And the song slowly built up a lot of suspense before they brought in some more traditional black metal elements to the song. It's for fans of bands like Harakiri for the Sky or Wolves in the Throne Room. For me, it's 7.5 out of 10. Pretty cool black metal album with lots of symphonic elements. The last band that I have is called The Quill. The album is called Master of Disguise. They are a Swedish heavy stoner metal band that formed in 1986, and they are on the Metalville label. This is their 12th studio album. The band is heavily influenced by Black Sabbath, and their vocalist reminds me a lot of Ozzy. I think a good way to compare the sound would be Black Sabbath, Never Say Die, mixed with Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger. And the opening track is called Master of Disguise. Opens with some big old school doom metal guitar riffs. There are some old school Tony Iommi style guitar riffs there as well. And the next track, Dark City, reminded me a lot of those 70s Sabbath albums with Ozzy on vocals. They have some softer tracks, such as You Cannot Kill My Soul, which has acoustic guitars and softer vocals. And this one had a very early 70s classic rock feel. And I also like the track If Tomorrow Never Comes, which has chunky distorted guitar riffs and one of the more memorable songs on the album, and has some catchy hooks. But one of the standouts is a song called Mastodon. It's 9.5 minutes long, has some cool bass guitar, has some psychedelic sounds, has some big riffs in certain parts. Think of it as like a very epic version of Planet Caravan. And this album was actually one of my favorites of the week, maybe my second favorite. My score is 8.5 out of 10. So that is all for this week. Check out last week's episode. It should be appearing on your screen right now. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.